Hey guys, just a reminder that from now until June 26th, I'm getting you 10 free meals plus free dessert for life with HelloFresh. HelloFresh brings fresh ingredients perfectly packaged, delivered straight to your door, where meals come together in less than 30 minutes typically. And from now until June 26th, I got you locked in for 10 free meals and free desserts as long as you are actively subscribed to HelloFresh. For details on how you can claim your free meals and dessert today, head to the link in the description of this video. Thank you so much to HelloFresh for sponsoring.
Listeners and viewers, please welcome the host of My Guest at This Time, Jose Gonzalez.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of My Guest at This Time. Jose Gonzalez here. It is a fun night here, and we're taping this actually the night of the 20th anniversary of TNA Impact, so a lot of big wrestling vibes, and of course I had to bring on a phenomenal guest for you guys, someone that was actually the ring announcer for the very first independent wrestling show I ever went to, someone who's been a mainstay in Western New York and now making his way down to the Mid-Atlantic scene. Chris Gullo, how are you?
Oh, pretty good. The life is good. I'm living in a tiny house in North Carolina, and I have elk in my backyard occasionally, so it's definitely a good time. What show was the first show? I'm intrigued by that.
So funny enough, of all shows, it was the first Every Time I Die did the season show.
That was a good time. I remember that being a blast. There was like Kevin Blackwood versus Brody King was on that.
Yep.
Timothy Thatcher versus Josh Barnett, which was pretty cool to ring announce.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah.
There was that street fight. I think it was Ricky Shane Page was roughing between RJ City and God, who else was in that match?
Gregory Iron, I want to say.
It was
Maybe?
Gregory Iron, yep. Because that was before they
Yeah.
started tag teaming and everything and had their amazing death match at the Johnsburg.
Yeah. And then, and of course, you had the Butcher and Pythons West Pythons against Anthony Gaines and Cloudy. So,
oh yeah, Purple Rain. Who could ever forget? God, that was such a fever dream of a show because it was the first Riverworks show. It was before all the Blackcraft stuff happened. There were so many people on that card that you would end up seeing on TV too, which is kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, and it was like I remember the atmosphere, especially for that main event, because I mean, it was fans of Every Time I Die, and they were there to see Andy wrestle. And because there's a balcony at Riverworks, it felt like Hammerstein, like in that main event, like how electric they were. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like,
that would be the first only. I was ringside against the barricade. Like, it was hot. Everybody was getting ready for the music. I don't know if Andy had a match before then, but that was definitely the first time I saw him do anything in the ring.
I can't remember. It wasn't much, but I think he was wrestling a tiny bit, but I couldn't remember. I know it was Wes's first match, I think. So, and I don't think he's had a match since. So,
well, I mean, it's just crazy to think how much time has gone by since and where they've gone now. But yeah, I mean, as on the topic of intros to wrestling, I mean, your early days, what do you remember the most that really got you into this business?
Well, growing up, and I've kind of told this other story on podcasts, so sorry if people have heard this before, but growing up, like I lived still in the rabbit ear era, the mid 90s, right? And so we didn't really have cable TV. I would watch cable on the weekends when I visit my dad, but for at home, my mom, we didn't have cable, so it was really relying on the rabbit ears. But there was a channel in Buffalo, New York called 67 WNGS, and they picked up a lot of wrestling. They had the ECW shows they were on late at night, but they also carried Smoky Mountain. They carried USWA, and then there was some weird, and I don't know if it was a Canadian channel, but there was a channel that would cover like a free channel that would have WCW Pro. I believe that was the one with the brick setting. Like they would have that, and then you would get Superstars on Fox 29, and then we also had another Canadian channel at Saturday nights would show the Canadian version of Superstars, which, believe it or not, was different.
Really? What, did they have more like time for more matches, or what was the difference?
So I don't, and don't quote me on this, I don't know if like TV is just like CanCom, but there was more Canadian wrestlers. So you got like a Bret Hart match, or you got like an Owen Hart match, or something with Furnace and LaFon, like some like stuff like that.
I mean, that's a pretty nice difference to have too. I mean, you kind of take for granted like how much we can get like interfeed, especially because we're right by Canada and everything too. You bring up ECW. Did you ever make your way over to that ECW show they did at the Flickenshire Center?
I went to the Flickager once as a kid. I did it one time, and I got I got a Sandman shirt. I'm like, I think I'm like 9, 10 years old, and I'm wearing a blood, sweat, and beer Sandman shirt to school, and I got in trouble. So
Hey, I mean, the '90s, anything was fair game in wrestling, so it doesn't surprise me at all. So, I mean, out of those ECW originals, like, I mean, we have like Dreamer, we have Sabu, like Sandman, obviously, with the whole merch thing. Like, anyone that really tickled your fancy, kind of made you want to get like more into like maybe exploring the rest of the business, I guess I should say.
I never thought I was gonna be a wrestler. Like that never like in like ingrained in me. Like, oh, I'm gonna wrestle someday. Like I just never thought I athletically had it. But I always thought I could be part of it. And I think watching guys like Paul Heyman and ring announcers, like Howard Finkel and Gary Michael Capetta, and watching those type of roles and thinking, I could do that. Plus, when while I'm also wanting to be in wrestling as a kid, I also want to be a late night TV show host as well as a sports announcer. So I knew I wanted to do something with a microphone. Like I think that's what it was. Like I wanted to do something with a microphone, and I naturally progressed into doing really kind of all. I never had a late night show, but I announced sports and wrestling. So
I was gonna say 2 out of 3 so far. The late
yeah,
night show
not
could
too
be
bad.
coming with the whole
Yeah,
comedy career you have going
yeah,
on. So never say never. Yeah, I'm trying to think. So, I mean, you bring up like sports announcing and everything too. Obviously, coming from Buffalo, were you a big fan of Rick Jenneret?
yeah. Rick Jenneret, Van Miller, as well for the Buffalo Bills, and I was a big sports radio guy, so I like to listen to sports talk radio, and I remember like I got to do my internship under one of my favorite radio hosts, Brad Ryder, and Brad was great when I was learning under him and all that. And the only problem with sports radio is there's not a lot of money in it, so I transitioned into different avenues. But yeah, I got my degree at Buff State in media broadcasting, mostly with a radio focus. So
Very nice. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Buff State alum too, journalism, so it's kind of a
yeah.
small world there. So, did you know, like, obviously wanting a microphone in your hand, did you know that it was more so going to be like a ring announcing, or did you want to do more like
I thought it was
commentary stuff?
I honestly thought it was going to be commentary, and like I always respected the ring announcers, but I never thought like that's exactly what I was going to do. And then there was an opportunity for me to ring announce. So I graduated Buff State. I was at this time, I've been helping at wrestling shows, meeting people through my radio show at the time, Terminal Talk that I had on college radio. So I've met some people and all that. So then I graduate college and I make some more connections. But then I answer a Craigslist post that was looking for a ring announcer for BCW, Buffalo Championship Wrestling.
Oh,
And
wow.
I sent my stuff to the guy, and I because I had this media, because at that point I already did Buff State football, basketball, and hockey, a lot of it. So I had like an announcing background on that side of things. So yeah, he brought me in, and I ring announced my first show in December 2011, and the rest is history.
God, I mean, I didn't think you were doing it as long as you have been. Almost what, 17 or no, 2011, 13 years. Wow.
Yeah, it'll be my 13th anniversary in December, and it's my wrestling career will be a teenager. So
That is incredible to hear. And I mean, you've gotten to do quite a few shows. I mean, you mentioned Buffalo Championship Wrestling. You've gotten to go over to the Canadian side of things with Neo
yeah,
Championship Wrestling. Obviously, you've been able to travel a little bit as well, too. I've seen you in Illinois and Texas, and now obviously North Carolina. How has it been kind of trying to make the towns as a voice rather than a competitor? Have you noticed like it's just as hard?
it's
Maybe there's different nuance.
I think it's harder because I mean, usually when a promotion finds their guy or the girl, the ring announcer, that's it. They're not going to differ from it unless that person like can't make a show, or they're just maybe it's not for them, or they quit or whatever. So there's not just this all these opening spots for ring announcers, right? So it is hard to kind of make it a traveling thing and all that. I've been lucky enough that, I mean, I'm relentless in the aspect of when I moved here down here, I messaged every promotion I was interested in working in. A lot didn't respond, and I'm not upset about it. They have their ring announcer. It is what it is. But they also know I'm in their inbox if that ring announcer ever can't make it or quits or gets signed or whatever it might be. I messaged a bunch of promotions. Two promotions off the bat wanted to bring me in. One is a ring announcer, one is a commentator, and now there's at least four promotions I'm working for, and I've only been here since April 1st, and here we are talking on June 6th, and I'm regularly working for almost as many promotions as I was when I was up in Buffalo at one time.
That is incredible to think, because I mean, your reputation obviously supersedes you. The fact that you were able to transition to a completely different area and just already find so many places to really get some more reps in. I think what has been kind of the key thing that helped you find your style and like your sound as an announcer?
I think it's like listening to stuff, but and naturally saturating it, but not like, oh, I'm gonna watch Bruce Buffer and then mimic it right away. Like I watch Bruce Buffer and then I'll do a show and I'll realize I did a little Bruce Buffer there, or and all that. But I think a lot of it is that you know how to ring announce, but you make it your own. I think one of the big reasons why Samantha Irvin is as good as she is because she makes it her own. I mean, it's unique. Like she's not in this bubble in this box, and I don't try to be either. I have some traditional ring announcer perspectives, but I feel like the way I hype a crowd and the way I say certain things, it's unique.
Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, I could say like the way that you would introduce like someone like a Bill Collier wouldn't be the same way that you introduced Captain Nick Ando. Obviously, you get a little bit more playtime with one than the other, just because like characters might lend themselves to it, or like whatever the following match is going to be can kind of lend itself to that kind of energy. So, does it ever feel like when you have those different kinds of announcers that it feels like they're putting more emphasis into the match or more on themselves? Because I've seen multiple different perspectives on it.
I mean, for me personally, and I think this is kind of like a lot of people, like Chimmel did this, and like I said, Samantha Irvin has done it, and a few others. I think you kind of you get the vibe of that talent, if that makes any sense, and you say it a certain way, and it obviously that adjusts on face and heel. And like you said, I do say things differently based on the person, and especially repetition. I mean, Nick Ando, I've probably ring announced, I don't know, probably almost 100 matches of Nick Ando at this point. Like, and I have a certain way of doing Nick Ando and Cloudy when they're tag team the high seas, and same thing with like Bill Collier and all that. And like, there's certain talents you get used to, you get a rhythm, and you kind of fit their character. When Bill was a babyface, I announced him a lot differently than I do as a heel. Bill's it's like Raw and a heel. It's like, this guy's scary. Like, and some people don't like that. I get it. It's not for everybody. I had, a ring announcer tell me I sound like a heel manager.
Which would make sense if you said that you liked Heyman growing up.
but like, it's like, I've never had anyone else say that to me. So, yeah.
I mean, to each their own. I mean, I don't notice any sort of way other than just you're enjoying and like you're really trying to get the crowd ready for what's about to happen, which is what I think is a huge misunderstanding when it comes to ring announcers nowadays. I always say like they're just as much a part of the storytelling as those competitors are, the referee, the managers, the commentators. Everybody's working together to put on this one big spectacle. So it would make sense they might want to tailor it a certain way because you know what story that match could potentially tell as well. So
yeah.
Also, in the topic of like leading crowds into like the energy and feeding off of that environment, I wouldn't even want to say by night because I mean wrestling also happens at night, but outside of this crazy world of sports and sports entertainment, you're also a stand-up comedian. So how did you first get into this circuit as well?
So that happened before pro wrestling, as far as being a pro wrestling ring announcer. So that, and I mentioned all the stuff I wanted to be when I was young, and then I got into high school and I wanted to still be all those things on top of, I wanted to be a stand-up comedian. So I started watching the Comedy Central Presents 30-minute specials. And in college, I had friends tell me, oh, you should do it. You should do it. You should do it. And in college in 2008, I used a fake ID to go to an open mic. Oops, sorry. I think statute of limitations is good.
It hasn't been long enough.
But I used the fake ID to do an open mic, and yeah, I did the open mic, and I did, and I didn't drink either. I didn't drink underage. For those of you cops out there, I just wanted to tell jokes. So, but no, I did my first open mic, and then the rest is history. And what I love about comedy is that it's always there. Sometimes I will be so deep into wrestling that I won't do a ton of comedy, but you know, the comedy scenes are awesome in Buffalo and Asheville. Great comedians, great people to be around. And I like producing shows. I like putting shows together and booking shows and all that for comedy. And I like making people laugh. And I cater myself to a certain like goofy, not serious. Like I know there's some comedians that lean into political stuff and all that. I want to talk about Dollar Generals. Like that's good.
I love that. Just like the hokey stuff, like going to Dollar General on a Saturday, get that 5 off of 25 and just go from there. Because I mean, you have like different comedians that have different niches where like they can go like very political and do well. Some that thrive off of crowd work, some that are really good at roasting. So like when you're putting together a comedy show, how do you try to think about like what the lineup could be and like what each comic kind of brings to that show?
So I like different styles. I don't usually like to book a comedy show with all comics that are kind of the same type of style. Like I'll have a one-liner comic, and then following that is like just somebody that thrives on crowd work, and then following that is like real smart joke people, and then following that would be just just an in-your-face straight killer of comedy. Like I'll try to mix up the lineups, and what I do too when I make my lineups too is that when I actually put the lineup of the comedy show, I try to go like upbeat, low key, upbeat, low key. Like I take the crowd on this wave. So they're kind of getting that different, because comics can be different styles, but they are usually either upbeat or low key as far as a basic description of what the comic is. I'm more upbeat, so usually the first comic I like to put on after I host is probably a little more low key.
Nice. I mean, who are some of the comedians that you've noticed, like just coming up in your ranks, and also even on a grander scale that you think people might get some interest in seeing either live at a set or maybe they have a special somewhere online that they could look up?
I know like first off in Buffalo, I mean I could probably list a million people, and I'm sorry if I forget anybody, but like I know like Gary Wallace and Jesse Winterhalter and Liz Reeves are three of the top out there. And there's, like I said, I know there's a ton of bunch that I'm missing. But then as far as like down here in Nashville, I've just been starting to check out the comedy scene down here. But P.D. Smith McDowell is really funny. Hillary Begley's really funny. Like Larry Griffin. And then as far as just like national, it's kind of hard because like I don't watch as much tape as I do in wrestling, you should say, or, right. Obviously there's like the bit like Stavros and those type comics that I do enjoy and I watch the bigger comics, but I do have to get more into watching the comics that are up on the rise and all that. Mostly I see it from a regional scale, but I know there's a guy that's I think he's from Asheville, lived in Nashville, and I've actually seen him at open mics, but he's got a special out now, Joe Zimmerman. He's like really hilarious.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of comedians are also like shifting towards like having like maybe like a joke here or there, like really trying to hone people in with social media too. So coming from maybe a promoter's spectacle or perspective, excuse me, like what do you think would be a good way to kind of like make sure that more comics are getting a little bit of exposure, making sure that they can get a little bit more attention to them that they might not get unless they're going to be on a night?
Yeah, I think it's honestly a social media presence and traveling to do comedy and really putting yourself out there and getting experience. I mean, one thing I like what I had to do when I first started comedy, there was no comedy club in Buffalo. So we had the one open mic, and then maybe there'd be some shows here and there at bars, but it was very rare. So like once I got like a year in, I started like approaching bars and restaurants like, hey, we should do a show here, and then some did, and that's how you get experience. Like I kind of produced out of necessity, and then I ended up liking it, but I just like I needed more stage time, and I wanted to get stage time for my friends that were comics too, and that's why I started running shows. What I love about Buffalo is that the newest group of comics that came up in Buffalo, Kevin Andrews, Trevor Finnegan, I'd like to say I know I'm forgetting a bunch. Mike Shanks, Nikki Wagner, a bunch like a lot of them want to like put on their own shows, which is really cool. So and a lot of them ask me for advice and like, hey, how do I do this? What do I do? And it's great because like now Buffalo, I think every weekend has like 3 to 5 shows that aren't Helium. So
Yeah, which is saying something because I feel like Helium's barely been open not even 10 years, I don't think.
yeah, and I mean, Helium, obviously they're going to have comedy every weekend, and then but it's so funny how like when I started, there was nothing, and now UB has comedy, Buff State has comedy, Shades has comedy, Helium has, obviously is there, and then of course there's all the bars and brewery shows, and there's shows we don't even know about that happen at like fire halls and like Depew, like it's just.
Yeah. It's nice to see like so many things kind of coming up around here too, because I mean the comedy scene's thriving, the wrestling scene's thriving, sports in general seem to be thriving. So for a lot of outsiders that might only know Buffalo from like maybe a couple things, like whether it be for chicken wings or for the Bills Mafia jumping through tables, or the fact that we're not New York City, what we tell people we're from New York and we have to correct them. Like, how would you kind of describe Buffalo's atmosphere as a whole for someone on the outside?
I mean, I think it's definitely like more of a fun city than you would think. Like if you look on the outside, you're like, oh, aesthetically, it doesn't look like a fun city. Like you can drive by a city on the thruway and go, that city looks fun. You wouldn't think that driving past Buffalo, but it is. Like you said, there's so much great entertainment. The local music scene that's not cover bands is great in Buffalo.
Yeah.
One thing I do love about living in Nashville is they do not like their cover bands. And I'm sorry if you're in a cover band, but living in Buffalo for so long and seeing a million cover bands at beer tents, I'm over it.
Yeah, I was gonna say, now that you mention it, I think I've seen a lot more cover bands than I have seen like do original sets in any.
And I think that's a Buffalo thing, and it's weird, but the local music scene in Buffalo is phenomenal, and they got a great art scene, and the food scenes there is very good, and there's like Buffalo, you will be busy and you will be entertained. You may not think it because, like I said, you don't drive by and it doesn't have a Carvana thing and just this giant like tower, like lighting tower, but it is a fun city. And Asheville is got that charm too. There's so much cool. Asheville is really all about arts and culture and stuff like that. Like even like the chain stores like have to kind of look like a local business or they won't get supported. Like when you're in downtown Asheville, like Anthropology is like on the main strip with all the local stores, but they've made their store look like just another Asheville local store.
See, I like that. Instead of it being like its own thing that sticks out like a sore thumb. Like if you're to go to the Boulevard Mall and then you see like the giant dicks, and it's just like kind of the eyesore of the whole thing compared to everything else. Obviously, it just closed, but just kind of an unassuming visual city. But like once you get to the heart of it, you will probably find something that will entertain you in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and what I like about Asheville is Asheville's thing was keep Asheville weird. So I thought it was a good fit for a city that I mostly focus on. I actually live like 40 minutes outside of Asheville, in a tiny house in the Smoky Mountains, but like I'm in Asheville like all the time. So
yeah, I love that too. And also kind of things about like how close things can be in proximity down there too. Cause like I know Greensboro is a big wrestling hub down there, and I have friends that I was staying with in Winston-Salem before. So kind of just like you don't have to travel too far to be in the meat and potatoes of something, but you still have a nice little bit of a getaway, which is kind of nice as well too.
Yeah, Greensboro's about 3 for me. Winston-Salem's 2.5. Atlanta is 3 exactly.
Oh wow.
Nashville is 4. Knoxville's 90 minutes. Yeah, so I would say Virginia and South Carolina cities in there, but they have licenses even for ring announcers, so I got to eventually get those, but I have not got those yet.
I mean, South Carolina does seem like their commission is pretty strict about everything.
Now once again, don't quote me because I could be wrong, but I've been told
allegedly
the way South Carolina works is that anybody who enters a ring has to get, or anybody enters ringers ringside has to get not only a license but a yearly physical. And the way the physical works, and like I said, this person could have been over exaggerating, I don't know, but what I've been told is the way the physical works is that your doctor has to fax it directly to the South Carolina Athletic Commission. You can't just send it to the doctor or send it to the Athletic Commission. So imagine like you're getting a physical and you're like, hey, by the way, I do wrestling and they need to have like everyone else wrestling. Like, can you send them a physical for?
Yeah, and then depending on how the physical goes, they just look you up and down. You're doing wrestling? Like, no, not the wrestling. I'm talking about the wrestling, but they still need this.
So yeah, it's a very. I'm eventually gonna get it and get down there. I've just been getting settled in. I know I want to do stuff in Greenville. and other places like that. But I mostly have been just North Carolina based, but it's been a blast. I've been working for Firestar. I've worked for Urban Combat Wrestling. I'm starting actually with Elevation in a few weeks, which I'm really excited about. Gonna be doing some stuff at Pro Wrestling Hype as well. So having a really good time and getting some good opportunities. And I was just able to do production down in Atlanta this past Saturday for a cameraman. So some fun stuff happening.
Nice, nice. So I know I was going to kind of hint at it in a little bit, but out of the little bit of time that you spent down there so far, who are some standout talents? I know we kind of mentioned Jackson Drake a little while
Yeah,
ago, but
we were talking off air. Yeah, Jackson Drake is definitely one of them. He reminds me of a Daniel Garcia Spencer Slade hybrid. If that makes any sense.
that actually makes total sense because I see it visually,
Like,
but like in the ring, I also see it too. Because I remember like very early Jackson Drake days kind of parallel the very early Daniel Garcia days straight out of
yeah.
grapplers. So
And the way and now he almost looks like if he bulks up a little more, he's gonna look like Spencer Slade. Like so
yep,
um
headgear pending.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, no, he's really impressed me out here. The women's wrestling scene out here is very good. There's a lot of talent. A lot more unfortunately than like Western New York and Pennsylvania and stuff. Mila Johnson and Leah Knight are probably two of the biggest and brightest like up and coming stars that I've worked with out here. Oh, and Caitlin Marie's super over.
Oh yeah, Kayla Marie's been a mainstay in the Carolina scene for
Yeah.
quite some time too. So definitely familiar with her stuff. I
um
remember seeing stars down there like Ella Envy, who's doing great in NWA, Kenzie Page. You have like so many other ladies that have been there from the Queens of Combat days, even before then. So just
yeah.
kind of showing that even though the scene might look a little different, there's still a hotbed for so much talent on both sides, which is cool.
Yeah, and like Rob Killjoy, obviously mainstay, and I even tell him I'm like, it seems like you're on like 3 shows a day, and he goes, sometimes I am, like because like almost every single show I've been on, he's been on, and I'm just getting in, and I've really only been on the Western and Central side, and like he's working all over the place. But yeah, and I'm sure there's others. I mean, I've been able to do color commentary for Urban Combat Wrestling, which is like the Asheville City promotion, which it's a whole different type of atmosphere. I totally recommend somebody to go. You could bring a non-wrestling fan. It's just got that type of vibe. It's just a really fun promotion. Caitlin Marie is a star in there, but we got Mook Massacre and Bo Bombshell and Sledge Gibson and many others that are just like really fun talent that you may not have heard of, but it's a really fun promotion. And then I've been working a lot with, like I said, with Firestar, and Jackson Drake is there, and Marcus Cross, and they got a lot of like young talent that are coming up too, that are going to be, really good. And LeBron Cozy is like a great trainer. So, and he's tearing it up as a wrestler in Deadlock. So,
Yeah, I love that because I mean, you think about like the Western New York side of things. I mean, Brandon Thurston was one that's been a huge component with Grapplers Anonymous, and people kind of forget like, oh yeah, aside from WrestleNomics, he was actually really very technical in the ring. I don't know if we ever got an
yeah.
official retirement or anything, but you also kind of forget that like he can
Yeah.
go at a moment's notice to that level. So
I think with Brandon, he got older, as we all do. Me and Brandon are very similar in age, and just like Brandon sets himself to a high standard, and though most people probably think he could put on a great match, he doesn't think he probably could still. So it's a shame because Brandon's great, but what Brandon's doing now, it's probably gonna have a bit larger impact on the business, to be honest with you.
oh, I agree. I mean, funny enough, WrestleMania Night One, we're both in the media suite. I ended up sitting up right next to him out of pure coincidence. Kind of having like, oh yeah, I remember seeing you at ESW all those years ago too, like just killing it. Which kind of brings us into you being the current voice of ESW as well too.
Yes.
So I mean, you talk about starting with Buffalo Championship Wrestling. How did the doors kind of open over at Empire State Wrestling for you?
So about 2013, I started making friends with the production guys. Actually, one of the production guys being Jonathan Ash, who's now GCW producer, as well as many other accomplishments. And he's like, yeah, come hang out. He goes, there's not a ring announcer spot now, but you never know. Come hang out and help me do lights. So for the first like year in ESW, I was the guy just doing the lights, the entrance lights. Like that's what I was doing. And then we there was an opportunity to fill in as a ring announcer, and the rest is history. Like, I hate to sound confident, like cocky, but like usually when that happens, I don't get replaced. So
Yeah.
there's like,
No, I
sorry,
mean, there's a reason why you had the staying power that you do, even
you
making
know,
the towns back and forth nowadays too. I mean, you've definitely earned your keep. So,
yeah. So,
and you've
and
gotten to
it's like
see.
I filled in and it just happened.
Yeah, I mean, you've gotten to be there for quite a few different moments. You've seen so many people come in and out of
Yeah.
ESW over the years. Some that have stayed really local to Western New York. Others have had huge splashes in those bigger companies like a TNA, like New Japan Strong, like AEW. I
People
mean, we
often
talk
forget
about.
Johnny Gargano was a regular.
Yeah, Johnny Gargano between ESW, AIW, WWE. I mean, Candice LeRae's been there. You've had a
Yeah.
lot of people come back after WWE as well, too. So, kind of surveying the current field. Who are some of the Western New Yorkers you think that are just kind of waiting for a showcase to go even further than where they already are?
So I mean, obviously you have your mainstays that I think it's a shame that they haven't got an opportunity. Your Colin was there at one point, but Colin
Yeah.
Delaney deserves another opportunity. And I would put Cheech in there and Nick Ando and Cloudy, Christina Marie, I think should definitely get an opportunity on television. And these are mainstay wrestlers that are just top of the card no matter what. Bill Collier, Vince Valor. But then there's like some young talent, like if you haven't watched him yet, Buck Wild Tommy K, like he soaks it up, he listens, he asks questions, and he just gets better and better every time I see him wrestle. And he's got a super bright future. And a lot of those kids at Buffalo Wrestling Academy do, Groff and Matt McCoy and Darren Crow and among others. And speaking of young talent, CXR.
Absolutely, yes, CXR.
CXR should be all over the country wrestling on the Super Indies. Black Label Pro, if you're listening, please book CXR. You C4 book CXR.
Yeah, all of them. I mean,
Yes,
Invictus, you name it. Come on,
yeah,
guys. They're just ready to go. I mean, they've been doing Excite, they've been doing Flower City, they've been doing like pretty much anything in like Western to like Central New York. They've been killing
yeah.
it. And it's just
And,
crazy to see.
and they had opportunity to work for Smash. I know they've gotten some opportunities there, and I believe as well as Greektown. And Greektown wrestling is really cool. It's probably the coolest place I've ever that I never worked at, but will still put over. Like, yeah, if you get offered to work at Greektown Wrestling, Channing Decker is awesome. Work there.
Yeah, because as I say, like seeing what I've seen from Greektown kind of reminds me, like not too much ECW, but he does pay tribute to hardcore because that's obviously
Yes.
stuff he loves. But it's also like such a diverse cast of wrestlers that come in and out of there. You talk about like Sonny Kiss showing up there. You have so many different competitors of any style that you will find something to latch on to at those shows.
He developed a different atmosphere than what was happening in most of Toronto, and I think that's why it works.
Yeah, I think it was also during Smash's hiatus too, so it kind of filled not only that void, but it can definitely stand on its own too. So Smash is always like kind of like the very like high work rate stuff, whereas like Greektown's really more like passion driven, character driven. It always
Yeah.
feels like there's something for everybody wherever you go, which is kind of cool to see. And I know you kind of mentioned this very briefly with Jonathan Nash bringing you in at ESW, but you also get to do GCW in Rochester. How did that come about?
So, when they were coming to Rochester, Jonathan Ash reached out to me. He goes, we do sometimes give the local guy a match. I'm going to ask Brett Lauderdale, and we'll see what happens. And Brett agreed, and I got there expecting one match. Emil find out and goes, no, man, you're doing two matches. Like, and me and Emil, like, we're very friendly, and definitely respect the hell out of MLJ. And yeah, so I got an opportunity to do two matches. I was supposed to just do one, but yeah, it was really just having one of my best friends work for the company. And then when I got there, their ring announcer going, oh yeah, this guy's, yeah, he's getting two matches. Like,
I mean, that has to be pretty validating to know, like, oh yeah, not only am I good like just for like the local guy spot, but like if need be, like I could step in and like take over, like if any opportunity came
yeah.
up. So
Well, for me, it was great because like I never got an opportunity to ring announce Dark Sheik, and that was awesome. Like I ring announced Alley Catch before, but I never got an opportunity to ring announce Dark Sheik. I mean, Dark Sheik's mostly on the West Coast in GCW, so it's just you don't get that opportunity, and that was really cool. And Dark Sheik's pretty awesome too. When I told her that, she was like, "Really? I'm on your bucket list." I'm like, "Yeah." Like, She was
No,
like
like
really
certain
excited.
people, you just kind of like their energy that you can see them, like even if you've never gotten to see them live, like you just know, like I want to work with you. So who else do you kind of have on the bucket list right now? I'm very curious to
So
see.
now that I'm down south, it kind of opens up, right? Because like I mean, northeast, I've done not every name, but I've worked with a lot of names. But now I'm down south. You know, there's some names that are more regional based that haven't had an opportunity to ring announce yet. Savannah Evans is one of them from Impact. Works a lot down south. Would definitely want to ring announce Savannah Evans. I just did CW Anderson, so I just crossed that one off. But yeah, just ringing out CW, which I thought that was really cool. I know there's more trying to think of down here. It will come to me, but I mean
I'm
there's
just trying to
there's
imagine
so
you
many
doing,
there's
an
so many great
introduction to
talent.
Mr. Number One, George South. God.
I do want to ring announce. Oh, I want to ring announce Chick Donovan, George. I want to work with Chick Donovan. I want to work with Mike Jackson.
Oh boy.
Like I definitely want to ring announce those guys.
I mean, Mike Jackson's ever going to retire, so you don't got to worry about that. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
name the show.
You know, yeah. So I mean, it's a lot of the Southern legends.
Mhm.
I mean, there is a lot of great young talent that I like to ring announce too. But it's fun down here because I try to tell people that the Southern legends and the Northern legends are different because a lot of the Southern legends are still out there working every weekend and they're giving back and all that. And the Northern legends, the old WWF 80s guys, didn't really give back. They were just there for the money, didn't really put any effort in. I'm sorry if you're offended. 80s WWF legends, and not all of them. Hacksaw Jim Duggan, amazing, but you know, it's different down here. They really like give back, and you hear all the stories of how great Tracy Smothers was before he passed, and Bobby Eaton, and like these guys really give back and care about the future of wrestling. And so that's what I was really excited about the legends down here down south. And I saw it with CW this past weekend, this past Friday. So
Yeah, I bet that was kind of full circle on the ECW tangent too. I mean, like,
yeah,
think about it. Ricky Morton's still doing Canadian Destroyers at
Rick-
his age, like out of nowhere. So
yeah.
definitely.
I've gotten to ring announce Ricky before, but I would like to do it
Nice.
again. And I never ring announce Carrie, so I would like to ring announce Carrie.
See, we're gonna have to move into ring announcing the wrestling dynasties down there too, because there's a few generational talent. I'm sure that you
Yes,
probably can
yeah.
get a chance to. So, I mean, on that note, anything you have coming up that you want to plug?
Yeah. So so this on the comedy side, but if anyone's in the Asheville area this Friday, I'll be producing a show. My company Neon Moon Comedy, we're producing a show at Lookout Brewing, and we got a star-studded show. Hillary Begley, who's been she was actually in the Dolly Parton movie Dumpling that's on Netflix. She's headlining that, and I got P.D. Smith McDowell and Lyric Griffin as features, are two of the best comics in Asheville. Then we have Jordan Julius and Ellen Pekarik, two great comics as well, doing guest spots, and I'll be hosting. And it's a great brewery, it's great beer, it's in Black Mountain. You could go to Neon Moon Comedy on Facebook for more details, but it's at 8:30 at night, and it's only $12, and it's going to be awesome. And then this Sunday, Sunday the 16th here, I'm actually going to be color commentary for Urban Combat Wrestling's Mimosa Slam 3, and it's also our 5-year anniversary. Ooh. And that's gonna be a huge show. Like I said, Caitlin Marie, Bo Bombshell, Mook Massacre, and more are gonna be on that. But this is all. We were actually also just recently on Outsports.com for one of the Pride events this month. So come party with us, have some mimosas, celebrate Pride, and see an awesome wrestling show. It's going to be a blast.
Yeah, Urban does have a very diverse when it comes to like an LGBTQ plus roster. I mean, you mentioned Bo Bombshell, Caden Pierre, Conor Kelly, like a very welcoming environment to anybody celebrating Pride this month. So definitely make your way over to Urban if you're able to.
Yeah, and then June 22nd, I'll be at Elevation, making my Elevation debut, and that's Star Clash 3. I believe Jackson Drake's in the main event on that one. So I'm really excited about that show. And that's pretty much my June. You can follow me for like July and everything or anything comes up. But yeah, I'm really excited too. This past weekend, like I said, I was just at Firestar, and I did I did some production on Saturday at Center Stage. You could put 2 and 2 together where that was at. So what that was for.
Yeah, I mean, if you were on YouTube, you might know what was going on at Center Stage this past Saturday. So no big deal.
So
nothing major.
Yeah, no, but yeah, so no, it's been really fun down here. I miss Buffalo, and I still get to go up there for ESW, and I miss a lot of the talent I worked with up there, and I'd love to see it. Excite Wrestling, which was my second home after ESW, they just got mentioned by Cody Rhodes at a house show in Binghamton. Like, so I'm really happy for them. Neo is great on, and with Neo, unfortunately, one of the owners and founders, Tiberius King, passed away, and super nice guy and hilarious guy too. And they're still going strong, and Neo's got an amazing roster up there. I mean, Cody Deaner is a regular, guys. Like, when Cody Deaner's a regular, it's a great promotion. They got Crazy Steve, Tyler Turva, and more. And then Big League Wrestling, which kind of grew out of Revenge, they're doing great stuff in Erie, as well as ESW Keystone. So check out all those promotions in up north, and check out all the ones I'm working down south.
Yeah, I think next ASW show, July 20th, it's Everything to Gain, right?
Yes, we're doing a battle royal. It's like a Royal Rumble actually style match, and it's going to be in honor of Anthony Gaines, None of a Kind, who is a very dear friend of mine and a huge part of the wrestling scene up there in Western New York.
Yeah, tremendous talent. We all miss him up here, but definitely if you're in the Buffalo area, Buffalo River Works, July 20th, definitely go. It's a fun show. I've never gone to one ESW show where I wasn't welcomed or didn't have a great time. So you're going to find something somewhere. I guarantee it. And then if you want to make sure they're keeping up with Chris, where can they find you on social media?
Yeah, so I got lucky. I got all these social media handles early on, so it's Chris Gullo on everything. It's on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. So it's fun. I'm on TikTok, but I don't really put stuff up on there. Just kind of watch TikTok videos. But yeah, no, you can catch me on those social medias, and eventually I'll be doing some more podcast stuff. Right now, other than all that stuff, I'm currently doing some voiceover work for Ultimate Classic Wrestling, which you can get on Plex as well as their website. But yeah, that's through the Savoldi Wrestling Library, and they get to basically do commentary on matches that either have lost audio or maybe the audio is in Spanish. So I've done a lot of IW Puerto Rico. And we got a great crew for that. Like the people that do voiceover work for them are like me, Joe Dabrowski, Brian Webster, Ray Odyssey. So it's a really good crew.
I love that too, because you also forget that Puerto Rico has so much good wrestling too. So getting to go through that catalog, I'm sure it's been nothing but fun.
A lot of Apollo Balls Mahoney matches that Savio Vega made. he was the evil commissioner. I've done commentary on a lot of those, and also a DX versus Headbangers match. That was interesting. It was a fever trip.
Hey, you never know what you're going to find going through the catalog, but you can definitely find something through my catalog too. Jose on the Air everywhere. JoseOnTheAir.com has all my links. Shop Jose on the Air if you want to support the channel, get yourself a mug, sticker, shirt, whatever have you. And make sure that you share this wherever you share your YouTube videos. So like, comment, subscribe. I will see you all very soon in another episode. Take care, everybody.